Hello, world. This is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, and today is Monday, February 23, 2026. As far as the weather is concerned in this area, Lexington, Kentucky, currently it is 21 degrees, and the high today will be 29. And with this 21 degrees currently, it feels like 9. The National Weather Service has issued a weather alert for the Northeast from Maryland to Maine for a nor'easterner that has life-threatening conditions. If you don't have to be out, stay off the roads. Accumulation of snow is expected to be measured in feet. High wind conditions will cause wind chills that will create life-threatening conditions, which is also the reason for remaining indoors. Locally, here in Lexington, Kentucky, the high today will be 30 degrees. Tuesday, 39. Wednesday, 54. Thursday, 44, with rain possible during the day and at night at 83%. Friday, the high will be 53. Today, the AQI is good. Pollen none. Wind in the double digits. When I checked it earlier, it was at 12 miles per hour. Sunrise. Today was at 7:17 a.m. Sunset will be at 6:25 p.m. It is currently 7:54 a.m., a few minutes before 8 o'clock in the morning. As a way of explanation, you notice the screen format is a little bit different than what is usually displayed. I've been having trouble with my devices, so my phone was really giving me trouble. It's had a lot of pop-up ads going on, and my tablet, which I usually use for the program, is stuck in some kind of mode that I cannot figure out. So when I have the time, I will go to technical support and let them help me with that. But in the meantime, we do have the show today. In the news, I put this one off as long as I can, or as I could, so here we go. The Jeffrey Epstein files again. 3 million pages of information, mostly redacted, drawn from multiple sources under investigation. Probably if they just printed what you could read, it might be down in the hundreds. But as it is, I think the number is 3 million. Most recently, in connection to the files and Jeffrey Epstein, the former Prince of England, Andrew, has been arrested. The following people in high positions have resigned. Billionaire heir Thomas Pritzker hired hotels. Top Goldman Sachs lawyer Kathy Rue Imler, investment bank Goldman Sachs. DP World Chair and CEO Sultan Ahmed bin Salman. DP World Limited, one of the largest logistics companies in the world. Paul Weiss Chairman Brad Karp. Paul Weiss Ripkind Wharton and Garrison, one of the most prestigious law firms in the U.S. Norwegian Ambassador Mona Jewel, Ambassador to Jordan. Epstein left her children $10 million in a will before he died in prison in 2019. The list of resignations continues. House of Lords member Peter Mandelson. Slovakian Minister Miroslav Lajčák, the National Security Advisor to Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico. Arab World Institute in Paris head Jack Long. Arab World Institute, a Paris cultural organization. New York School of Visual Arts Department Chair David A. Ross. In this case, there's this article that I drew this from had details surrounding each name as to their involvement and with Jeffrey Epstein. The last one, David A. Ross, was as follows. The two men continued communicating even after Epstein's 2008 conviction. In one email released by the Justice Department, dated 2009, Epstein wrote to Ross, "I might want to fund an exhibition entitled Statutory," and there's three dots that's used in English punctuation, "girls and boys ages 14 to 25, but they look nothing like their true ages. Juvenile mugshots, Photoshop, makeup. Some people go to prison because they can't tell true age. Controversial. Fun." Ross replied, "You are incredible. This would be a very powerful," I thought it meant powerful, but it's OWERFUL, powerful and freaky book. In case you missed it, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of soliciting for prostitution of an underage girl. He served 15 months of an 18-month sentence in a Palm Beach, Florida jail. Now, depending on who's reporting, the wording may change as to the information that's passed in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. But nonetheless, anyone that was affiliated with him after he served time and after he was convicted and served time in 2008 was probably aware of that conviction. And Donald Trump. This is just one of many articles that are constantly in the news about President Donald Trump. This one is entitled, "Trump says he's sending a hospital boat to Greenland as territory says no thanks." His words. "Working with the fantastic governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, we're going to send a great hospital boat to Greenland to take care of the many people who are sick and not being taken care of there. It's on the way." Triple exclamation marks. The president posted on social media alongside an illustration of the naval hospital ship, the USNS Mercy. It is unclear what Trump was referring to in his post. Greenland and Denmark have free, nationalized healthcare systems. So my take on things would be Greenland and Denmark are sick of you meddling in their business uninvited. So while we are on Donald Trump, the Supreme Court has announced that the money that has been collected from tariffs should be returned. A few other things. Donald Trump had requested a display that was related to the slavery of Black people be taken down. The court has ordered that it go back up. And as things would be, since I scrolled through a lot of articles, or at least my fair share, way off in the background, like coming from the peanut gallery, there was this one article. Sometimes it takes things a little time to gain momentum. But it mentioned that at the rate that Donald Trump is going, spending money and the way he is managing the government, that it wouldn't be surprising if the United States government had to declare bankruptcy. And understanding that unlike most people that come into government service, they have a political background. Donald Trump, as I mentioned before on at least one program, is coming from the business aspect of it. Excuse me. And even though he has over 200, I think the number is 256 businesses with his name on them, the 6 major projects that he undertook, starting with Atlantic City, have all declared bankruptcy. So extrapolating on his way of doing things, if not, I'm not going to go so far as to say I know how he's thinking, because I really don't know how anybody's thinking until they open their mouth and verbalize something that allows me to see what's going on with them. But you can look at what they are doing. So between what they say and what they do, you can establish some sort of pattern as to their personality and the way they do things. So since Proposal 25 was motivated, spearheaded, and driven by the idea of Donald Trump having a third term unprecedented as president, and that is fast fading, November can't get here fast enough for me, then that leaves business. And if he is accepting that his third term is not going to happen, then he might have assumed the mental position that if I can't have it, nobody will. Ergo, bankruptcy. But Department of Justice, Supreme Court, I noticed more recently that more of those issues that they seem to have ignored are now getting their attention as relayed to us in the news. We are now in the last week of February in Black History Month. And it's recently been announced, sadly, that about the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I found an article that kind of relays information about his history and what he was involved in his life. It's published by blackdoctor.org, and obviously it's a recent article. So it's entitled Civil Rights Icon Reverend Jesse Jackson Passes Away at 84. The announcement was made by his son, Jesse Jackson Jr. And I do want to share this article with you because anyone that I share this timeline with will kind of understand, even if memory may fail you about certain details. If you lived and were alive in that period and were old enough to recognize what was going on, then you will appreciate this article about Reverend Jesse Jackson. In my case, I was in middle school when Martin Luther King was assassinated. So that kind of gives you a reference point. But before I get into this, I wanted to share something that I know about personally relative to Jesse Jackson. When I was living in DC, the nation's capital, for a while, I had a job as a chef working for a nonprofit organization that would prepare meals and deliver them for the homeless. The The kitchen's location was on Florida Avenue, not far from 7th Street, which is where Howard University is located. The kitchen was located more like in the middle of the block, and at the other end, away from 7th Street, was the house that Jesse Jackson had bought. Like I said, this is something that is part of my life as well. Between Martin Luther King, Malcolm, don't forget the Kennedys, we had a lot going on. MLK made his point with his nonviolent approach that the white man, in air quotes, is not more and black people are not less. Malcolm X came with By Any Means Necessary, which proved that as much as the white man controls, we do not have to depend on him for everything, which was proven by the Nation of Islam and their movement for economic independence. Who didn't buy a bean pie just to see what it tastes like? So the front end and the back end were covered of the movement to better conditions for black people. Now, Jesse Jackson, having spent time with MLK, takes an even bolder approach and enters politics and runs for president twice. Unheard of at that time and not been done before by a black man. Since his passing, articles have been written about what he was involved in. PUSH, Rainbow Coalition, and other efforts. When the Rainbow Coalition Chicago location was mentioned in an article that I was reading, it included the LGBTQ community, and that gave me reason to pause. Maybe the word rainbow caused some confusion. Back then, early 80s and through the 80s, people were not putting their personal lives out there for public view. And if you remember that time period, you will understand why. What I do behind closed doors is my business, not yours. Not like 2026. My personal reasons for thinking that this could possibly be a misprint are these in regards to the LGBTQ community. A man with a man and a woman with a woman does nothing for the reproduction of the human race. Next idea, I don't think they're pursuing adopting children and exposing them to that lifestyle is fair. Even heterosexual parents will agree that raising a teenager dealing with puberty is hard enough without trying to go against nature. Last but not least is we are advised about our health often enough not to deliberately choose a lifestyle with its own health risk. So those are my 3 reasons for distancing myself from the LGBTQ community. And if that is a choice that you have made, as I have said before when I was on a social media platform and I was engaged in text conversations with people that were in that community, that you probably be more comfortable around people thinking like you do. And I don't think that way. Mother Nature is a hard force to go against. And when Father Time says it's time, then it's time. So as this article that I'm about to share points out, the Rainbow Coalition was for people of color to join in working for the common good. Black people may be on the stage of life, but everyone is watching. So let me share this article. The Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, civil rights icon and leader who turned protests into power and whose dedication to fight for the rights of Black America has passed away, his son, Jesse Jackson Jr., stated. He was 84. The life and legacy of Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Reverend Jesse Louise Jackson spent more than 6 decades as one of America's most recognized moral voices, equal parts preacher, strategist, coalition builder, negotiator, and presidential trailblazer. I'm just realizing I didn't check the volume, so I hope everybody's able to hear. He rose from the segregated South to the center of the civil rights movement, then carried its aims into boardrooms, ballot boxes, and global diplomacy. In his later years, he continued to symbolize the unfinished work of democracy, even as Parkinson's disease and later a rarer neurodegenerative condition limited his mobility and speech. Roots in the Jim Crow South. Jackson was born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, in a world structured by legal segregation and everyday humiliation. Those early experiences